frustration as you may fear. And I really want to just share it's natural. And for me, I sat down about a month ago and was so excited. I had a new employee. And here at Omnia, that is completely something that happens rarely. That new employee, and I'm sitting down to do his evaluation. I'm thinking, I've got this. I've had daily conversations with Jeremiah, was part of his leadership team, did his training, really understand him. This is gonna be the easiest 90-day evaluation I'm ever prepared. Sent the calendar invite, have it on the schedule, go to do it and sit down and go, what has he done over the past 90 days to fit this job duty? Well, I have an example here, but is it the best example? And as I sat there, and I know that he's going to be coming down to my hall, to my office any moment, and I finally struggle and I get it done, and I hear him walking towards my office.
And so there I was walking towards Kim's office, and all I could think of in my head is, what on God's green earth is about to happen? Seriously, fear, am I good enough? Am I doing an okay job, or am I horrible? So many different things running through my head as I walked towards her office for this 90-day evaluation. And so much weight I had put on. Was I being my worst critic, or was she about to say a bunch of stuff to me that I had no idea she was thinking? And so really walking into it with just that emotion of, is this going to be okay, bad, ugly, good, awful? All those words were passing through my head as I walked down the hallway toward her office.
And that's the purpose of today's webinar. As you can see, a 90-day evaluation for an employee is stressful for not only the supervisor and the one completing the evaluation, but it's also stressful for the employee. And we're gonna walk through this real life scenario today of our 90-day evaluation. Jeremiah just joined our team about 4 months ago, doing terrific. But as much as we talked to each other during the day, there was stress on both of our parts. So we're going to focus on how to deliver that painless 90-day employee evaluation, not only from the supervisor's perspective, which many of you are, but also from the employee's perspective. And we're just finishing up our January hiring series for the past 4 weeks. I do want to let you know that these are being recorded. And so if you're having some difficulties, if you have to leave a little bit early, that's okay. They'll be available in February, and we are going to have those downloads available as well. Let's go ahead and just dive right on in. So as a supervisor, what do I think about when I hear 90 days? Thinking one is a really short time to do an evaluation. Do I have a true picture of what this candidate, this new employee is about? And then also I think about, I've got some really high expectations, and they've been here for 90 days, and by gosh, they should understand exactly what I'm looking for. They should be at the same level as my current employees, regardless of the time frame that those employees have been here. And from the employee perspective, Jeremiah, what are you thinking?
I would relate the 90-day evaluation to really a lot like visiting your in-laws for the first time. You get married and you're walking into that holiday time, and there you are, you're going to visit your in-laws. It can be stressful. All you can think about is how you're going to be grilled by your mother-in-law or your father-in-law, and it's one of those things that you walk into thinking what is about to take place. There can be a lot of stress, related to it. And so as an employee walking into that 90-day evaluation, you've got to work through those emotions, but also really helping that should help you as an employer see, hey, my employees are walking into it with some of this stress, some of this fear because of that word evaluation. So I need to be mindful of that and how I can make it comfortable for them.
Jeremiah, I love that analogy because my mother-in-law and I have a great relationship, but I feel like every time she walks into my home, she's looking to see, okay, is there a speck of dust or something out of place? She lives alone. I have 4 children. I can guarantee that something's going to be out of place. And that's what we want to really focus on, is really easing that pain. And there's a reason for it. So there are 4 stages of learning, 4 stages of that new employee, whether they're new to the company or new to the role, that they all go through. And the first stage is that unconscious incompetence, what I like to call the puppy dog stage. I don't know what I've gotten myself into. I don't know what I don't know. I'm just happy to be here. I've got a new job. Woohoo! Jeremiah, how did you feel when you were first hired with Omnia?
I got a new job. Woo! I felt great. It was exciting, new, fresh, but like a new puppy, nervous and slightly terrified as well, to be in a new home, wagging my tail through the door.
Well, and that's funny because you can see, you saw my picture earlier. Those are truly what we look like. So I don't think that I'm very intimidating or make people nervous, but to a new employee, I did. And as they go from that unconscious incompetent stage, the next stage of that learning that new role, the new company, is that conscious incompetence. What I like to call, what did I get myself into? I truly know what I don't know. And am I going to get it? Jeremiah, do you have a defining moment when it just hit you that, whew, what am I doing?
Yeah, definitely. So my background is in mostly retail management and banking and some of those things. It's great to be at Omnia to use that experience to really push forward and help our clients in employment consulting and things like that. But the thing that really hit me was this is a different environment than I've ever been in, and the way we do things is very unique. So it definitely, that moment hit me where, what have I gotten myself into? What am I really doing?
Right. And, it's not a defined, sometimes it's not that defined moment. Sometimes it's that little drip of water that slowly erodes your new employee's enthusiasm, because the feedback that you tend to get in the conscious incompetent stage is more that constructive feedback. Don't do it this way. This is the way that we do it. I've got to ask for help. I don't know. And it makes us feel at times incompetent. But then we move to the third stage, which is that conscious competence. Okay, I'm hitting my groove. I know what I need to be doing. I know the steps I need to follow. In Jeremiah's case, he learned how to send. I know exactly how to walk a client through sending out the Omnia behavioral assessment. I may not be quick at it. I may not know all the steps to it internally and just can rattle them off. I'm still referring to my notes, but I know what I know, and I feel comfortable in what I know. Jeremiah, can you tell me the first time or give me an example of the first time that you were like, yes, I know what I know?
Sure. So I was working with a client and was just walking them through a new type of report that they were wanting to use for their leadership team. And so I had I had my notebook out next to my computer, and I'm walking them through step by step and just fluidly being able to move through it, even though I had my notes out, and it wasn't necessarily completely natural. It didn't just come to my mind right away exactly what to do, but I was able to follow that process, knowing what I needed to do during it, that call, and be able to walk them successfully through that, and then on top of that, walk them through the results of that report successfully as well. And so it got to that place where, sweet, I got a win. This was awesome, and really could, check that box off. So.
Oh, terrific. And then the last stage is that unconscious competence. I know what I know. I've been here forever. I can answer the phone, type out an email, look at someone through our door because we have glass, nod at their answer, give them a thumbs up, rocking and rolling. At this stage is I don't know what I know. And so, Jeremiah, can you tell me a little bit about, have you hit that stage yet? Do you feel like you've hit that stage yet?
Yeah, no, not even close. I think for me, there is still some things that, because of the position I was hired into here, it was a unique position, new to the company, as far as handling some of our existing clients and really helping them get the best return on their investment and diversifying their account. So it was really kind of new to us. So it's still playing out, but definitely closer to that unconscious competence rather than that conscious competence. It is starting to come more naturally and has been laid out better. So.
Terrific. And you may be wondering, okay, so how long does each one of these stages last? Because Jeremiah just said, I'm closer to the unconscious competence than the conscious competence. But typically, on average, each stage lasts about 30 days. So you're going to take a look at it. So if you think about that 30 days for unconscious incompetence, that I'm so happy to be here. 60 days for that, what did I get myself into? And look at that conscious competence. That's that 90-day mark. And then before they can even think about going to that unconscious competence, you're hitting at 120 days. And that's if every person, the new employee, is hitting every cycle, feels very comfortable, getting the training that they need, is in the right position. So I've got a quick question for you. And we're going to do these check-ins periodically. So why evaluate at 90 days? Go ahead and type it in. Why do you think we should evaluate at 90 days? And then while you're thinking about that, maybe you have the answer to what are some of the common expectations of the employee that we have at 90 days? What do you, as a leader, expect from your employee? Or what are some common expectations? Maybe you don't expect it, but people in your company do. And I see some answers popping up. So Chrissy, great, see that progress. Kathy, to learn if the employee is a keeper, to see if they're a good fit, to make sure you have the right fit. I'm seeing some similarities popping up. Give the employee feedback, right fit, expectations. Kelly, I love that, to make sure that the expectations are being met on both sides. And that's going to be key. We're going to talk about that. Love that. Confirm if training is working. Bernadette, more training is needed, Helen. Make sure that they're understanding the training, because yes, that goes hand in hand. I may be giving you enough training, but if I'm not understanding it, there's going to be a problem. And some common expectations of the employee at 90 days is, are you keeping me? Am I showing my value? Love that, Olive, because you're speaking from that employee perspective. Kathy, as are you. I need to know. And I also love how you followed up with that, Kathy, is to see how the employee's feeling about the fit between themselves and the position in your company. And I want to sit on that one for just one moment and discuss that point because that's key. So Jeremiah, even we talked frequently throughout those 90 days. Would you agree?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So even though we talked pretty much on a daily basis, when it came to that 90 days or any time during that, were you concerned about the fit between yourself and the company?
Yeah, it was a constant question that kind of ran through my head, being such a new environment for me, very different from what I had done before. Just was something that, was on the forefront of my mind. Do I really fit in? Is what I can offer going to bring value to where Omnia is headed? So, that progress, was there evidence? Was I really seeing it?
Great. And I will tell you from my perspective, because I knew that it was a new role, it was something that we were adding and fleshing out, and having walked some of those steps that he was walking when I had joined the company 3 years ago, in my mind, he was tracking right along with where he needed to be. And I knew what he was doing. I understood what he was doing. I felt that he was a great fit to both the position and the company. The behaviors that he was exhibiting was right on track. But today's webinar is going to be very transparent and very honest with you. And so Jeremiah and I have had this conversation for him to respond honestly when I ask these questions. Is that, did I convey that to you very well?
You, she, you, you have no idea what you just opened the can of worms for. No, I'm just kidding. I think it's been great to be able to be honest and open, and that environment has been created, and we want to encourage and challenge you with that today. Opening that door is huge. So, and we'll talk more about that in a few moments.
Absolutely. And I love how he was very diplomatic with that. So thanks for not out on the webinar, but we're going to talk about, so why 90 days? Mark your calendars for that 90-day mark. Think about it. 90 days. If you drive a vehicle, you're told get your oil changed at 3 months or 3,000 miles, whichever comes first. And it's the exact same way with your new employees. You have to check in with them. And that 90 days is a good starting point. They've gone through the training, regardless of whether your training is 1 day, which if that's the case, we need to have an additional conversation, or if it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. And they've had that time to be on the job. Classroom training is essential and it's needed. But a lot of times you truly don't understand what you're supposed to do till you're hands-on. And so just like your car needs that oil change for 3 months, so does your employee. They need to understand where they're going, what's happening. Are they on the right track? Would you agree with that, Jeremiah? Do you think 90 days is too long, too short, just right, being that new face into Omnia?
I think it's a great time for an informal, a formal sit down, but up to that point, there should be multiple times where you're getting together and building up to that 90-day evaluation, because it will really set you up for greater success, as an employer and as an employee. So.
And that is what is to be successful as the 90-day evaluation. To make it as painless as possible, you have to think of it as a cycle. The supervisor is going to share with the employee is going to share with the supervisor at that 90-day evaluation. But it starts even before then and it continues after that. And that cycle has to be present at all 5 stages of presenting that evaluation. Jeremiah, you were saying something to me about this cycle and open doors when we were talking earlier. Can you share that with our participants today?
Sure. So it's a lot like entering someone's home. You open the door first and then come in and engage conversation and welcome. They welcome you in and all of that. And many times what we do is we do that very quickly, but then we close the door back, because what can happen is that first few weeks is great, intensive training, all that sort of things. And then we wait until like 90 days before we give more feedback. And if you can open that door right away and say, hey, if you have questions, if you have thoughts, if you have concerns, I'm available, be open, be honest, really set that up in advance so that when you get to that 90-day evaluation, there's so much less stress involved on the employee's end. I'm not walking down the hallway thinking some of those things that I first shared when we started this time together. I'm not thinking, did I do good enough? Am I okay? Am I awful? Is it horrible? Instead, I kind of have a notion already of what's being expected of me by that 90-day point, because that door's already been opened in the beginning.
Absolutely. And when with that door being open, it allows that frequent check-in. And how it's going to help you as a supervisor completing that evaluation is that you already know the expectations, goals, and objectives that you've set for that person from the very beginning, and they know. As well as you're in frequently and you're available with that door, it's going to allow you to think about what is said. How many of you are like me and remember what you had for breakfast yesterday? Our mind only remembers a certain amount of information. And just like any evaluation, you tend to remember either the high points or the low points, or what happened the day or minute right before you created that evaluation. So by setting those expectations, by checking in frequently, by leaving that door open and being available, that allows you to gather that information. So now you're more objective and really understanding what happens. And that's key, because as we go into those 5 steps of a successful evaluation process, you have to look at it as a continuous cycle. You have to understand that you can't jump from one step to the other and have that flow and have that understanding truly of what people need. So let's talk, and we're going to explore those 5 steps of an evaluation a little bit more. But before we begin, take a quick pulse. So how many of you prepare for every position's evaluation? Do you always prepare? Sometimes, rarely, never? Be honest, we can't see your names. And then when do you prepare for the evaluation? Do you prepare for it a week before the evaluation, 2 days before the evaluation, the day of, 5 minutes, or, they have a popular prepare, I just wing it. What we typically see is that 90-day evaluation is not given the same weight as the annual evaluation. And if that's the case, then you're starting off your evaluation process stumbling. Because if you wait until the annual evaluation to set those expectations, to talk about what's being expected, you're setting your employee up for failure. And so I see about half of everybody they always prepare for every position's evaluation, and that's wonderful. And then about 40% of you are rare or sometimes. So I do it for some, maybe you do it for some positions and not other positions. Or you're looking at it case by case. Well, remember, for legality purposes and compliance with employment laws, if you are giving a 90-day evaluation, I want to change that. when you give your employees 90-day evaluation, you need to make sure that you're doing it for every single employee. You can't pick or choose which employee you want to give an evaluation through. And about 48% of you look at the evaluation about a week before. Pretty good. You're giving it some thought. About 36% of you are looking at it like 2 days before. Oh man, I got that calendar reminder that popped up that said, I've got to do Jeremiah's evaluation tomorrow. Let me sit down and take a look at it. And I'm glad to see that no one just wings it. They're all prepared. Congratulations, you're already first step to having a successful and painless performance evaluation. So the first step is to prepare, prepare, prepare. And that preparation, think of the 3 C's. You need to be consistent. Once again, if you're looking at one person, you've got to look at everybody's. It needs to be continuous. You want to remember the great things that they've done, the good, the bad, the not so great. And you want to make sure that you've communicated it. Here at Omnia, we offer an employee coaching companion that gives you a quick check mark to say, yes, they have it, no, they don't, and a quick reminder, what did they do well? What are a couple of things that we talked about improving and how they can improve on it, and did they improve on it? You also want to do the self-evaluation. So both parties, both the supervisor and the employee, have some responsibilities on that self-evaluation. And yes, you still need to do it for the 90-day. You want to give the employee a copy of the evaluation during the first 30 days of hire. You want to set your expectations, send it to them 1 to 2 weeks in advance and give a deadline for returning it. Most importantly, you want to read it. And then be prepared to discuss with the employee during the evaluation. Now, I have a confession to make. I did not send Jeremiah the self-evaluation. I dropped the ball. Typically, add a calendar reminder to it and completely forgot. So, Jeremiah, how did that make you feel when I didn't send you that self-evaluation? And when it came to the responsibilities of what you're thinking about, why would you do a self-eval?
Yeah, so it's funny because, well, I'll say this for strike 3, you're out. No, it was difficult because walking in not knowing exactly what was expected of me, or the categories or some of the specifics, or how I could have been prepared with some examples and facts on my end for you. Now, that's not to say that I shouldn't have been proactive on my end and had some of that as well. So strike through for me too. But as far as employees' responsibilities go, really to when you get that self-evaluation handed to you, as a supervisor, make sure that you're communicating that time frame, and then as an employee, take the responsibility to complete it, in that designated time frame. The other thing is just be open and honest, not only about yourself, but also about the company and the process. And the more that I was able to be open and honest about my role, the greater that went, and the more on it, it just was more on point. And then as an employee, I want to make sure that I'm giving examples, and facts, not just my opinion. I'm not saying, well, Kim, she's just always so busy, she never has time for me. Or, be specific with that. Hey, I approached your office on Thursday and you were unavailable. That's happened several times, and wondered if there really is an open door policy. Now, that's not the case. Kim's very available and it's been fantastic. But be mindful of making sure, and on the supervisor's side as well, I would encourage that too, that you make sure that you're giving examples and facts, not just opinions. Don't state things in generalities, be very specific, because it really helps hone in on what can be worked on and improved. And then I think as an employee, the other thing that you can do as a part of your responsibility is be prepared to discuss with the supervisor during your evaluation. Don't just show up and take all the comments and challenges. Be prepared to discuss some things, and ask for those things that you may still feel like you need that haven't been given to you yet. And I think that is something that if I'm being honest in this conversation, is I could have done better with as well during that 90-day evaluation that Kim and I went through.
Thanks for sharing, Jeremiah, and for giving me some props that I am available. And that ties right into being prepared in that self-evaluation. We talked about that continuous. As a leader, we can't be that absentee manager. So Jeremiah, how would you have felt if I said, hey, welcome to the company, and the next time I talk to you, it'll be at your 90-day evaluation. Aren't you glad to be here?
I would have probably sat in my office and cried. No, I wouldn't have cried, but I would have been highly dissatisfied, because many people in the workforce really want to know that they have value, and that value can be shown through simply that supervisor just spending those few moments here and there with their employees to say, how you doing, what's going on, how can we do better, how can you do better, and making sure that you're available throughout that first 90 days, probably more so than any other time during that first year. It's huge to an employee during that first 90 days.
Absolutely. And I want to tell you, you can see how these steps are building on each other. So the best way to deliver that painless evaluation is to really focus on, am I preparing? Am I planning? Do I have a performance evaluation? So raise your hand if your 90-day evaluation is the exact same evaluation that you give annually. So I see some hands being raised. And so some are, some aren't. So it's very important that you use that same form. Why? You level the playing field. The employee knows what's expected from them at the 90 days as the annual. Also, if the self-evaluation is the same form as their performance review, you're really able to compare apples to apples. Instead of them saying, the employee saying, well, this is what I think I did, and now you're trying to match up where those core job duties fall in line, it's going to be a little bit difficult. And I know that when I use their 90-day evaluation, it also gives me a great starting point for that annual evaluation. Have I truly seen growth from when they first started to that first annual evaluation? Because once again, you have to understand that there is a little bit of that learning curve as well. So you've got to prepare, and you have to plan for success. So you've got to schedule that time to write the evaluation. Don't wait to the last minute. So why is it important not to wait to the last minute? Here's why it's key. How many of you picture yourself, the alarm goes off 15 minutes before you're supposed to leave the house? So you jump up, you throw on clothes. If you're a lady, you're trying to fix your hair, do your makeup, wishing you had a third hand all the way in. But the problem is that as you're trying to do that and you're rushing out the door and you grab your briefcase on the way out the door and you've got your keys in one hand, fly into your car, you're tearing 70 miles an hour down the highway, you remember, I've got my lunch. It's the same way when you don't plan and you wait until the last minute for the evaluation. So now you're rushing to put everything down that you want to put down. You forget a key piece of information. And maybe that key information is, You know what? I forgot I wanted to address this particular thing that the employee Jeremiah wrote on his self-appraisal where he said he needs improvement and I think he's meeting expectations. So I want to talk about this a little bit so we can take it to the next level. Because when you're planning for that success, you're writing it without feeling rushed and you're also reviewing it. And you need to review their self-appraisal at the same time that you're reviewing their evaluation. Now, you're not judging their self-appraisal. You're not saying, Psh, Jeremiah, you really think you're that good in 90 days? But you're seeing where the two of you are in alignment. Remember our first poll when we talked about, the question when we asked, why do a 90-day evaluation? Many of you talked about those, setting those expectations and making sure that you were in alignment, that your expectations were the same. And so a couple of things when you're planning for a success, you've prepared, you know what you're going to write, but now it's time to put the pen to the paper. There's a couple of do's that you want to do. You want to address those behaviors. You want to stop, start, and continue, both as an employer and a supervisor. And Jeremiah, did you have any behaviors that you wish you could have written down that said, man, these are really great, or, ooh, should I stop this or not stop that?
Yeah, definitely. I had quite a few things that I could think of that at that evaluation point that I felt like I could continue. I could maybe some things I could start doing, but was wondering should I? And then definitely some things that I wanted to bring up to say, is this something I should stop doing? Just based off of what I was experiencing working with our customers and our clients.
Absolutely. And you want to give examples of strengths and challenges. And once again, that's the employer and the employee. I didn't sit beside Jeremiah 24/7 while he was at work, so I could see every single thing that he did. So as the employee shares out in that self-evaluation, you may see a strength that, wow, I didn't realize he did this, or you may see something that's really not a strength, it's a challenge. And as the employer, you want to use that third person. You don't want to say, this is what you did. Jeremiah is very successful in contacting clients. It allows that employee's defenses and the walls to lower a little bit because you can sound accusatory sometimes. You did this, you didn't do that. Now, when you're putting pen to paper, there's a couple of things that you don't want to do. You don't want to make it personal. You don't want to speak in generalities and absolutes. Really understand that you've got to give clear, concise facts, and you don't want to give that unbalanced feedback. So let's just do a quick little poll, and not that one. So how many new employees do you think quit within the first 6 months? Go ahead. Is it 1 in 20, 1 in 10, 1 in 6? Jeremiah, what do you think it is?
Yeah, so it actually is nearly 1 in 6 new employees who quit within their first 6 months, and that was actually in a Time magazine article recently. And it's kind of baffling, and I think it hints at something that we could get better at as employers, is that making that first 90 days super important, and really invest in them, because if we do, we can really have greater retention, and not see that 1 in 6 statistic become us, which is probably the case right now. So I think it's really that thing, as we're looking here, communication is key. And I want to say this too about giving unbalanced feedback. It's kind of, we've all been taught that sandwich mentality, right? Where it's the positive, then the negative, then the positive. And we want to be careful. We definitely want to come with encouragement when we're bringing that evaluation and that feedback, but we also definitely want to make sure that we're hitting the point. If there is a challenge that you're seeing that has to be addressed, address it. It's okay to do that. Do it in the right way, but we don't want to then end again with such a strong positive to the point where that person never gets what they were supposed to fix. And that really hones in on that fact that communication is key. And so, what does your nonverbal environment say to your employee? And as we're talking about, communication being key, it's really funny, and I'll just share this example from the 90-day evaluation that I walked through. When I came into Kim's office and sat down, she had to kind of rustle around for a second and find my papers and then set them out and said, hey, all right, so let's get started and we'll roll right into things. And how are you doing today? That sort of thing, the niceties and stuff. But it almost felt like she had to kind of put herself together for a second. And I want to challenge you as an employer is you guys put a lot of time investing in your clients, your customers, because they're what keeps your business going. They're what keeps you guys employed, right? But our people are our greatest asset too. And the thing is, we're not getting anything done without them. So treat them like you would if you were on a sales call or on a sales presentation, or maybe with the client or customer doing some sort of service for them. You're putting your best foot forward. Make sure you're doing that with your employee too, because you really want to send the right perception. I value you just as much as I value our clients and customers as well, because it can really feel like family sometimes, right? We walk into our house, we've just had a long day at work, we've done our best to try to be nice to everybody and done a great job maybe with our customers or our clients. And then we walk home, and what do? Our kids or our spouse, they get what? The leftovers. Who loves or who enjoys eating the leftovers, right? No, not. It's not our favorite thing to do. I don't mind some good lasagna from now and again as a leftover. But the thing is if we give our employees the leftover or the unprepared, what will happen is it sends them the signal that they're not really valued. And Kim, she's done a great job of showing value in many other ways, but that was definitely a perception that I picked up on in the 90-day evaluation was, what are you sending with that nonverbal environment in your office, in that meeting place where you're having them sit with you? Be very mindful of that. And the same thing too, though, is communication is a two-way street. Make sure that you're doing your best as a supervisor, but then as an employee, and all of us probably in this session have a supervisor. So as an employee, make sure you're communicating too, and that you're sending the right signal and the right perception. And so Kim, that hopefully made sense, and I know we're being honest, so hope you appreciate me throwing you under the bus with the comments about your office. So I'll come back anytime and mention that again.
Yeah, as I brush the dirt off of me, I want to touch on that perception, because for me, my perception was it was done. I knew exactly where it was. I had already placed my phone on D&D. He walked in, I Control-Alt-deleted my computer. So for me, once again, it's like real estate, right? Location, location, location. It's the same thing about perception. I thought I was like all set, closed everything off, ready to focus immediately on Jeremiah. But his perception was because there was other stuff that I wasn't ready for it. And that can really set that evaluation off to the wrong foot. I love what you said about thinking about our employees as our clients. And then having the right receptors on. So a lot of times what we as supervisors will give an evaluation, and what we do is, okay, here it is. I've told you what you need to do. Now, I don't want to hear any feedback. I don't want to see anybody upset, and don't say anything. And if you say something, then I'm going to give you a bad attitude, so to speak. And the same thing with the employee. We can't just tell them this is what you need to do without being willing to hear from them and truly taking off our blinders, pulling out those earplugs, for a moment closing your mouth so that you can listen to what they say and receive it the way that it is meant. No one wants to get negative feedback. But what I appreciate from Jeremiah as he's sharing this is that it now lets me know that I'm going to be a better supervisor for my next person. I'm going to be able to give that evaluation in a much smoother manner and make sure all my paper is cleaned off. So the fifth stage, we've talked about preparing and planning, putting your pen to paper, communicating, is follow-up. And part of that follow-up is setting those objectives and goals. Okay, here's where you are at 90 days, and we know that you are consciously conscious of what you know. But where do I want to see you grow over the next 9 months? And are we on the same page? So remember, when you're setting those goals for your employee, you want to make sure that they are SMART goals. And I know that this has been around forever, but that's okay because it's a tried and true formula. It allows you to guide your employee. Plus, if you're like me and I set very high expectations and I want to make sure that we get them yesterday, that I'm not overwhelming Jeremiah or any of the other employees that I manage. So your goals need to be specific. They have to be measurable. If you tell them, I want you to improve your call rate, what does that improvement look like? Is it improving 15%? Is it improving by making 20 more calls a week or hitting a goal? Because if it's not, I want you to improve your call rate. Okay, I make 5 extra calls a day. I've shown improvement. And now it really hinders you with that coaching process. Are they achievable? As I said, I'm so big picture and love that. Okay, we've got to go now. Charge. Can it be a little bit overwhelming, Jeremiah?
Yeah, it can. It definitely can. Because it's when it's not specific, it's hard to see, or measure results really. So.
Absolutely. So you want to make sure that they're specific, they're measurable, they're achievable, they're relevant to that position, and that they are time bound. And if they are time bound, you want to make sure that what are those times? Something at Omnia that we provide for our clients and our employees is a development action plan. This is great to use as a partnership with that self-evaluation. And it is meant for the employee to complete, not the supervisor. When the employee completes it, then you're going to get a true understanding of their challenges. You're able to walk through them, but you also get their buy-in. When you have their buy-in, they want to do better. If you're, some people, if you tell me what to do, I'm not going to do it just because you told me to do it. But if I cast this vision or I ask, Carrie, how are you going to reach your goals? I believe in you. Tell me what you need from me. Then you're going to get that feedback. So they can give you their strengths and challenges. But also, if you look at the bottom, there are some time-specific goals. What's your challenge? What's your 3-month goal? What's your 6-month goal? What's your 12-month goal? Are they in alignment with the supervisor's goal? And if not, that's a point of conversation. And then also the resources needed from a manager, but also what the employee can do. Remember, it's a two-way street. So by the employee saying, this is what I can do on these challenges, but this is what I need from you as a manager, you're creating that successful cycle of conversation and working together, that synergy for great goals and having that longevity of that employee. So let's talk about that for a minute. What are some of the resources that you can provide to your employee? Maybe it's online training courses, behavioral development reports like Omnia offers, continuous education. Maybe you're just going to provide a full pot of coffee at any given moment. Or maybe it's all of the above. Go ahead. We'll take a quick second, fill in what you want. And the overwhelming responses, drum roll here, all of the above. Now, for those of you that are coffee drinkers, you're happy. For me, I'm like, give me my unlimited supply of Diet Coke and I will work until I fall out for you. But yes, all of those resources, online training courses, e-learning, that continuous education, whether it's on site or off site via the computer, more coffee. One of the things I loved is that even though we've been presenting, Omni is committed to giving us those tools, whether it's e-learning through Excel IQ, whether it was bringing in Dale Carnegie to help us be even better presenters. When you respond to what your employee wants as a resource and you give them what they need, and of course within budget and expectations, then you tell them, I believe in you. I want you. So you want to change that statistic that Jeremiah gave, that 1 in 6 of new employees leave in that first year, decide to leave within the first 6 months, to I want everybody to stay. I want them to want to work for us. So looking into that, we've taught those 5 stages, but we can't miss this important piece of it. You have to give the employee an opportunity to evaluate the company. And yes, it is going to be uncomfortable. But some of the questions that you may ask, and so Jeremiah, I am putting you on the stage.
All right, I'm ready.
Who was outstanding, who helped you the most during that first 90 days?
Sure, that's a fantastic question because as a new employee, it would allow me the opportunity to share about somebody that really helped me, but then also give you as a supervisor somebody that you can then go encourage and compliment because of what you heard about the first 90-day process. So for me, it was our benchmarking specialist because I was having to walk through really a very unique, in-depth product, the Omnia profile, having to share the results with people, going through some intense training on it, but then just being on my own to share some of those results was kind of frightening at times, and was able to go to her and get that advice and walk through it, and really have just a great relationship with her to be able to carry forward.
Okay, so let me back up and restart because I was muted and it was just fabulous. So who is outstanding? Why would I ask that question? The question is because now I have an opportunity to go to our benchmarking specialist and recognize them, to talk with them. Maybe it helps you find out who that hidden treasure is, that you can dive deeper and say, you're a great trainer and we want to work with you. So Jeremiah, what are some of those obstacles that you encountered during the first days?
Sure. For me personally, it was just a whole new way of kind of doing things because we're a worldwide company, not just localized or just nationally. We're across several different continents. So, some of the obstacles I faced were some of those clients who were further away or, couldn't necessarily fly there to see them. What do I do if I'm having a hard time connecting with some of their team and we know we're trying to work through a project for them? So that was definitely one of the obstacles for me, and how can I work through that better?
Terrific. And it's that set of fresh eyes. And that ties into the next 3 questions. So Jeremiah, where can Omnia improve as we bring on new employees?
Sure. So, and one of the things that I shared through my 90-day evaluation was, we put together really great marketing tools for our clients and things like that. why not invest the same time in the employee manual and some of the things that are handed to us as employees, so that we really have this best presentation of what Omnia is as well from the employee's perspective, and including in that too just a very detailed job description and maybe even a sample of the 90-day evaluation, so that I know what's coming already prior to that that 90-day evaluation. So I'm really on track.
Terrific, thanks. And then that ties into where can we improve, but how can we improve? And Jeremiah, what was one thing that you told me that, man, if you only improved this one thing, it would have been fabulous?
Yeah, just that point that I just mentioned really was, if I had had a better, and I know it was because I'm in a newer position, a unique position, pushing forward in a different way from other positions that have already been established, but really taking the time to hone in on what that job description was, what was required for my position, so that I had a very clear understanding. Because no matter how assertive or competitive or driven the person can be, they still want to know what's required so they have a goal to shoot towards. So I think that would have been a big piece for me that would have created even more success in that first 90 days.
Thanks for being candid. And why do we ask that employee the information? Is one, it's a fresh set of eyes. And if you remember, if you attended last week's webinar, Tanya talked about onboarding. And about 25% of new hires leave. And when asked why, the top reason was that onboarding process. And as employers, we get comfortable in what our onboarding process is. Your new employees are able to help you say, man, this was really great. This was a struggle. This is some suggestions. So once again, it's their voice that's being heard. So as we come to a close, let's just have some final thoughts with that finish. Okay, I've prepared. I've put my pen to paper. We've communicated. I've gotten feedback. I am finished. Well, for that 90 days, you're finished, but you're not finished. The evaluation process is a continuous process. You have to know the next steps, both you and that employee. Maybe if it's that employee who's borderline, you set up some additional training or a 120-day evaluation. Maybe you say, okay, we're going to check in quarterly with each other. You give that continuous coaching so that you understand that, and you provide those resources. You can't ask an employee, what can I give you to help you improve, and then not provide it. And if you don't provide it, why? Why am I not providing it? So leaving you with a quick final thought, for a painless evaluation, it takes both people to work together, both that supervisor and that employee to come together, to work together, to say, this is what we're going to do. So we've got about 2 minutes left. We're going to take a few questions. As we're taking those questions, I'm going to go ahead and pop it up where you can download some of those takeaways and some handy links. But one of the questions that we're typically asked is, what should the typical time frame of that evaluation should last? Should it be 5 minutes? Should it be 10 minutes? Should it be 20 minutes? How long should it last? And type in the next question as I answer that typical question. Typical time frame, I would say schedule 45 minutes to an hour. It sets that time expectation of I'm devoting my attention to you. The least amount of time that you should take should be about 30 minutes, because if it's 30 minutes, you're going to have some of that give and take as well. I know I like to get that information, and a lot of times when your new employee knows I've got an hour, they're going to bring a list of things that they want to discuss with you. Also, just want to let you know we do have our new online training. So as a surprise for attending, we did give away a free course of employee coaching and development, and Stacy Silvestri, and I apologize if I destroyed your name, is our winner. Carrie will be reaching out to you. So one more moment. Does anyone have a final question? Or Jeremiah, is there anything that you're typically asked from the employee perspective?
Yeah, so I think just a common question asked of employees is, what can the employee do to be more proactive in that situation? And I think really it goes back to what we were talking about, and the fact that if the supervisor can do a great job of opening that door, the employee is really going to engage in the process a lot more. So just really encourage, open that door wide open and allow that two-way communication to happen. So
Perfect. Thank you. And thank you everyone for attending. As I said, you can download that 90-day employee performance eval, the presentation or action plan, as well as I know that Jeremiah alluded to a new position. He is our account manager. He works with our clients to really hone in on their training and development, and his contact information is attached to the presentation as well. Follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook to receive those notifications for the webinars. And I look forward to talking with everyone next month. Thank you so much for attending. Jeremiah, any final words?
Thanks so much for being with us, and just value your employees, and you'll see greater success.
Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful day.